We're coming up to the 9 days soon, and by the time this shir is seen to the rest of the world, it might be the 9 days. And it's an interesting halacha in Tavkov Nun Aleph. The Mechaber brings a lot of halachas. We spoke a little bit about new clothes. By the way, I asked Rav Sternbach last Shabbos, can you give out new clothes from a gemach? He said, no. I said, but it's for people, for Kiruv. He said, if you're doing Kiruv, you should teach them, you can't wear new clothes in the 9 days. I said, but afterwards they might change their mind. I said, if they changed their mind, they weren't l'shem mitzvah in the first place. We shouldn't give it them to.
Even in Rebbe Travis's case of Fineast?
In Fineast, yeah.
He says to keep it.
They're walking around with minis. But he said, look, they're not mechuyev to wear unsneezed clothing. You're not telling them, should dress sneeze. Bar dress for 3 days. Bar dress from your friend, from somebody religious who they'll definitely give it to you. And then after the 9 days, you can wear new clothes. Anyway.
That's not an option. He says that still you can't buy them new clothes.
You shouldn't buy them new clothes. Anyway, I went back to Rav Safrani. He laughed. He said, it's Beit Cholim. People are not from it. Okay. Anyway, Lamai said, in all of Tavkon and Al, there's only one place where he talks about Paretz Getter. And that's someone who eats meat. Someone who eats meat. And like Carissa correctly pointed out, in new clothes, washing, all of Tavkuf Nun Aleph, which talks about the halachas of the 9 days and 3 weeks, it only mentions Paretz Getter in one place by eating meat. And we're trying to figure out why. What's so important? Why is eating meat different than everything else? So my Chavut said very correctly, I believe, is that meat is the most mutter thing in the 9 days. Yeah? Because an avel is not even asur to eat meat. The Brisker Rav has the Kerech Sarayin to say that it's because of onain is mesa mutter lefanav, so can't eat meat, so eat meat. But washing clothes is asur for an avel, washing us for avel, new clothes, other things are asur for an avel, sewing, but not eating. So in this place, the Shulchan Aruch writes, that's Paretz Getter. If you had a chance to look at some of these comments, there were some really interesting things about Paretz Getter. We'll mention them at the end. But meanwhile, I want to speak about a little bit about the halachas of the 9 days and where you're allowed to, where they were makel to eat meat and they weren't makel to eat meat, and why. Right? But look, the basic yisod, if you saw here the Marmakomos, I'll just quote one source here from the Rav Avad Yosef. The last piece here on the Marmakomos, which maybe you didn't see, you're Chelik Vav Siman Test. He says like this, second half of the shtickle there. He says, "Those stars the Adam Hashalem, lachos b'minag u'b'mais avos, v'lo yita me'am yamin." Small, don't divert from them, right or left, right? Ki'im kol echad lismoch al shikol daito. If everyone relies on their own understanding, kfi asher yavina be'ena, like kosher be'ena, what they see, so it'll get rid of minhag Yisrael completely, right? And there won't be any minhagim left. And he said earlier, right? He says, "Umachzikin osom b'davar ha'mayimid shafilu be'elful bater." Minhagim will withhold up Klal Yisrael, right? Minhagim are enacted. Minhagim are enacted when there's something like a little bit wrong. Something's weak. It says the lashon of the Gemara is matzah bika v'gada getter. Right? They found something. For example, the famous one, tipas dam gechad al yoshva zayin akiyam. Right? It's not. The Ran explains it's not possible for a woman to be a zava gedurla for one drop of dam. Kimat. I mean, he says maybe 3 drops. A third of a drop fell down every day for 3 days, and then it came out the third day. Highly, highly unlikely that a woman is a zava on 1 drop of blood. Okay, if a woman sees a whole flow, that could be right. But says that all the poskim say this is the quintessential psak halacha. Yeah, this is the halacha. The Rambam even quotes in Hilchas Birkas HaTorah to say Nashim Yosh and Zainaki and Tivs Dam Gechadal, and minhagim keep Klal Yisrael going. Right, so minhagim are very important, and especially the minhagim of the 9 days. Shlomo Brevda has a whole piece on that. He says this is the way we fight the Erev Rav, with minhagim, with kedarim, with tekanas, and this is how we fight the Erev Rav. But the question is like this: but there are situations in the 9 days where meat and maybe wine even have to be eaten. So how do we draw? This is a very fascinating question. How do we draw this line? Right, all psak comes the word psika, like where you make the cut. So where do we make the cut? Where is it mutter and where is it usher? So there's a lot of different cases here. I want to just go through some of them, discuss a few of them. Some of them are on the Makoma, some of them I found today. I want to discuss with you and try to get this line as clear as we're able to do. Okay, first interesting Shaila. What about Rosh Chodesh Suda? Usually in the Kol we have a Rosh Chodesh Suda, and it's a nice thing. Sometimes we have a breakfast, sometimes we may have shwama, right? What about having a Fleishing Rosh Chodesh Suda on the 9 days? What do you say? What do you say?
Rosh Chodesh Av.
Yeah, Rosh Chodesh Av. So there's a Meforish halacha that you can't.
Because it's Rosh Chodesh Av.
No. Mishnichnas Av. What is that coming? Rosh Chodesh. Yeah, that's to be shown him explained. That's the pshat. Mishnichnas, right? As it's coming in, right? Mishnichnas Av on Rosh Chodesh itself. There's some who bring yes, yeah, and there's a general rule over here, right? This is not, the standard minhag is people don't make a Rosh Chodesh Suda, yeah. But if you never make a Fleishing Rosh Chodesh Suda, it's really not the time to start during the 9 days, right? And that's true about everything we're going to say. As Mordechai asked me, if you have 10 children, 10 boys, and every bris was bagels and lox and cream cheese, and now you have a baby and the 9 days, and I want to make Fleishing. Okay, Kenzain, maybe not. There's a question for a gadol. Maybe you've been doing your chota. Reverend Israel was very upset with people who make bagel and lox. Brisson, because it's supposed to be busser. Okay, so that's that.
It's also the yards of the Iron thing.
But that's you should or shouldn't eat meat?
No, that's maybe a reason why you shouldn't eat busser.
Should.
Okay.
Okay, some people fast on Rosh Chodesh Av.
I saw.
Because it's yards. Right,
for only Rosh Chodesh, but it's worth any lot of fasting.
Right, exactly. Okay, now. Rav Sarai told me something very interesting when I told him this psak from Rav Sternbach. He told me Rav Vadia was matter keeping stores open during the 9 days. If people are going to buy neveils and treifas, yeah. Let's say you have a store in Tel Aviv that sells meat, and today there's stores in Tel Aviv that sell davar acher, right? And you have people there. If you don't keep your store open, they're going to buy davar acher or they buy neveils and treifas, right? So Rav Vadia said it's mutter. It was interesting. I saw the poskim today. There's a lot of machmirim, yeah. There's a lot of machmirim. We have a klal. Was it Marsham? Others. Was it Halitei Rosh V'Tamus? Yeah. Who is machmir? The Marsham, the Dov Misharim. Others. It's parts getter. People are going to eat the Vel and Treifas. It's more important that Klal Yisrael keeps going. Okay. Lamaisa though, I saw something very interesting, right? In the like Rav Safrani said, Lamaisa today that a lot of the meat is frozen, and Al Pi Din it's not really even the meat, which the Shulchan Aruch is being osir meat, like real meat. I had a
What is real meat?
I had a cruiser once, Ben Goldswag. He told me that his father was a shochet, and he had meat the day it was shechted and salted the same day. He said, you have no idea what meat tastes like. It's a different experience, right? And the meat we eat today is mikra din. It's mutter. Of course, that's parts getter. If you would eat it, it's parts getter. But in this particular case, keeping a store open where they're selling frozen meat, let's say, or selling meat in a person has a makolet, he sells some meat there. It's frozen, and if you don't sell it, so people are going to buy nevels and treifas. So there's definitely make them welcome to be hot. So again, look, it's a how do you call that? It's a thorny issue, right? By keeping a meat store open, by being part of the getter, Marsham said yes, but that's only when you're selling meat, which is mikra as in usher. What? That's a good point. Yeah. Okay. On Sunday maybe. Anyway, so yeah, you're selling fresh meat, which is not going to last a few days, and you're selling it on Sunday. Okay.
Liver.
Okay, so this is something I saw, which is really, really interesting. Yeah, are you allowed to keep a Fleishing restaurant open? Yeah, you're allowed to keep a Fleishing restaurant open. So I saw it like this: you keep it open. Why? No, Shlomo, you keep a Fleishing restaurant open during the 9 days.
See him on the hour.
Or picking our bed.
Right, see him in your bed. What else? Bris Milah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I didn't see that brought down, that heter. Right. Again, that's each person has to find out if is that called parts getter? It might be parts getter. A restaurant that stays open all the 9 days and makes a siyum every hour, it might be parts getter. On the other hand, it might not be parts getter. Because the thing is that it's what it's for him. A restaurant owner is allowed to keep his restaurant open because maybe there's cholim and zakanim, right? And cholim, mikradin, there's makam to be matter them, right? Now, again, it's a thorny issue. Yeah, right? A person who's really cholim needs to eat meat. There are people that are cholim need to
his
eat.
restaurant wouldn't survive for cholim and
Zakanim?
zakanim, meaning the budget.
Depends in Miami, maybe it was. What?
Yeah, okay, fine. Maybe that. But in the Catskill Mountains, I don't think it's a place for cholim.
But there's a lot of sick people there, no? Okay, I guess it depends how you define sick people.
There's
But-
definitely zakanim, but
What? Yeah, a lot of zakanim there.
Only nefesh.
What? Yeah, look, a person's on vacation. I don't know. Look, this is something you have to ask your local Orthodox rabbi, or maybe, yeah.
Maybe you
But,
should have a vacation.
Again, the point here, which is very, very adin, is you're being part together. Yeah. Before a person decides to, somebody told me once, by the way, he said in our neighborhood, it's cheaper to go out to eat Sunday night than stay home because all the people come collecting, right? So, so Lamaisa, so going out to eat, it's the 9 days, right? Look, a person's wife is like really, really depressed, like massively. A woman called me up this week. She said, my husband curses me every single day. He calls me things which I can't even repeat here, Am I allowed to listen to music? I said, what's the shaila? Of course, if you're living with such an ogre, okay, so you have to know who you're talking to. It's not a person says, yeah, I like listening to music. It's nice. It's kishmak. Each person, a kolafiyam magam was my ish. Is it a parts getter? That's the question. Lamaisa, going back to the end of here of the chuvas, where we spoke a little bit. What's the getter of parts getter? And this is the Srida A says it very nicely, right? He was living in Germany where there was a lot of pritzes, and I don't mean just how people dressed. There were a lot of pritzes going on there. The getter of parts getter is, will it continue, right? Is this like a one-time occurrence, or will this happen over and over and over again? He's talking here about when they made a decree against shchita, right? So he said maybe we should be makel here, maybe we should makel there. And Tanoim, he says it won't last. A getter does not last unless it's firm, right? If you have, it's a problem except for this and this and this in this case, so everything's a problem. Lamashal, Rav Sternbach has this case of a shochet who was doing nikr, right? Which we're knowing not to do that today because it's very complicated for sirloin steaks, right? Which supposedly are very tasty, but nikr, so you should do the nikr, right? So the question is, can he eat it himself? He's not selling it. This was to buy it and sell it. He's doing it himself, which is not technically included in the Gzera. So says Rav Sternbach, right? It's in Aleph Taf Yotes, right? That if you do that, then everyone say, well, I'm also a good menaker. Well, everyone's a good menaker, and then it's gone, right? So a person needs to have a lot of seichel, common sense, which is not so common today, right? To understand what's the hashlachot, what's going to be in 10, 20 years from now. The Rav Chaim Brisker, like he was a master at that. He can see something and see, when Eretz Yisrael was first formed, like everybody was so, what a nation, what a miracle. And there were some people who said, well, it's not everything is going to be so hunky-dory over here. There's going to be problems as well. So you have to know, is this a parts getter literally means that it's a crack in the wall which is going to expand, right? So this is the job of a posek in every single situation. Is this a pirza or is this a mikra, right? Or is it a mikra or a yotz min haklal, right? For example, what's a good example? A bris milah bizmano where meat is being eaten, that's not a pirza, right? Everyone understands clearly that's a mitzvah, right? You eat meat in a bris milah. From a bris milah bizmanai, right? Pashas a pirza is not going to happen, yeah? Even though there are those.
Every hour in the restaurant.
What?
See him every hour in the restaurant.
It's yeah, okay, I'm not going to say anything. Israel, Klal Yisrael, Kedoshim. But should you go to a restaurant which is it could be they're making a siyum every hour, yeah, because they know some cholim are going to come, right? And other people will come as well, and they're doing it just to be matzah rabim from Avera. It could be that's the reason. Okay, we can down the But the point is, that as a mishtatef, right? If there's a restaurant which is making a siyum every hour, right? and some, let's say, 10% of their clientele are sick people and older people. Right? What? Again, it depends how sick you are, but many poskim are makeup. What?
It's like Gazra love or it's heteroid.
Is it Hutra, Tchuya?
If it's like Gazra love, it's like Gazra al
Right.
If it's just that they need the meat and therefore we matter for them, so nowadays usually they don't. There's so many alternatives, so many other things. It's not that they don't.
Okay, Lamaisa, they're technically speaking, the restaurants are allowed to stay open for, just like there's a heter for electricity. Shlomo Zalman Auerbach said, how can you use electricity? It's Chil Shabbos. You bring net from Chil Shabbos. He says because there are people who Koach Nefesh and needs machines. Yeah, they don't have machines. I know people use this CPAP machine. They don't have it. It could be dangerous. People have older people in their house. Need it. Today it's a little bit more weak, especially in hospitals because they have their own generators. But Lamais, we have such a klal. If it's needed for some people, you can do it. Again, right? It says here they should put up moda'ot that this is really just for sick people. But maybe everybody today is sick. It could be. Okay. That's thing. What about okay? So I saw a very interesting heter, right? And it starts from a Chuvas Maram Shik, right? What about leftovers? What about Shabbos leftovers? So like tasty, so the Maram Shik has like a whole long shuban about it, about things and Evarim and Korbanos and things, and maybe there's Assad. Would be a tzad to be matred, but that's really mamish smashed by the rest of the poskim, because the pshat is that that's mamish a pirza, right? What's going to happen? First, going to make a giant pot of cholent, and have cholent, the whole week. If you start being matter with leftovers, again now malava malka and what's the other one? Malava malka and you can freeze it. It's not baltash, that's right. Yeah, okay. Today, to be matter, but a person who always has a fleishing. What? He has a whole lumdus over here with karbanos and ivarim, and it's not even clear that he's coming out maskana lakula, but it's an argument. Yeah, there's an argument here. What? What's the side to matrit?
Yeah, she should. The chef of Shabbos is a gigantic animal. We'll have it for a year.
No, the shvar is that maybe it was cooked for heter. It was cooked originally for heter for Shabbos. What? Right. It was cooked for heter. What's that? Who cares?
Yeah.
Okay, there is such an argument. It's cooked for
heter. So all of them hashes and all the waste. They didn't have food and they didn't have money then.
Yeah, that's an important point. We're living in a different world, right?
Well, that goes on the chayli also, the chayli and sakin.
Here, Maram Shek. It's tshuva. It's Orach Chaim Siman Reish Peivav. So he says, "Lefize eker kushiyasu gama to bim neder adam mizman ploni ve'elech leser b'shum davar v'nishtaylo mizman." Heter, right? He made a netter in every team meats, but he had meat left over from a time before he made the netter. What's the din, right? If you ask the cow, let's say, on certain things, talking about Fineast, right? What's the din we had in your refrigerator? Angel's bread, let's say. Right? Is it still going? This Angel's bread? People are buying Angel's bread now? Okay, I understand it's still going. You're not supposed to buy it. But let's say you had Angel's bread from before, something like that. So this is the din. This is what he's been on. And in the Maskana, he says like this: Okay, so that's talking about as far as the netter goes, right? But al kopanim, it's not makubal, right? Because if people are going to matter leftover meat, it's going to be a pirza. It's mamish going to cause a pirza, and it's going to be the end. That's a pirza it's the beginning, of the end. And once it's the beginning of the end, then you lost your thing. There's a very interesting shuvah here, actually, the one from Rav Vadia, which is Gimel Yud Aleph. He says, what about women who keep 4 days before Shiva Nikim? Yeah, many Sfardim keep 5 days. The Ikar Halacha of the Shulchan Aruch is 4 days. He says that's not called a pirza. When there's two accepted minhagim, it can't be a pirza. And I was listening. People were talking about early Shabbos, right? Remember when I first got married, early Shabbos, no, Rabbi Yeshiv, it's Minhag Yerushalayim, right? Today is very hard to say it's Minhag Yerushalayim because people from all over the world here.
So who would be the first person to be present?
Even the Yerushalmis, I daven at an early Shabbos meeting a lot of times in the Kosel, Friday afternoon. Most of them are Yerushalmis, yeah. So was it originally a pirza? Maybe yes, maybe no. But the Indian is that if there's two equally valid minhagim that exist.
What makes it that I decide, well, I think I like kidneys on Pesach?
Look, certainly the Shulchan Aruch is equally valid minhag.
So I can decide I want to eat kidneys on Pesach?
No, not if you're Ashkenazi.
Why not?
What?
The Shulchan Aruch, because he's
No, I'm sorry. If you're Sephardi, minhag I was saying it was that, right? And you've taken on l'chumra because of the later Sephardi poskim machmer, right? And a person doesn't have a family minhag, let's say they're a gera, a baal tshuva, something like that, right? So now a person is in front of them. They can decide. This is what Ravadi is coming to say here. He says, "Shekivan shahar beinogan lahakel b'zeh gidas maran umamel lo shaykh par together haminhag b'magam shaminhag sham kavua bein hakol." Right? When everyone's doing something, right, and you do differently, right? Try to think of a good example. Right, Shiva Nikim. Right, Shiva Nikim. Person saying, the Gemara says it's a chomra. Chomra's reserve. I'm not going to keep it anymore. That is the part together. The 5 days, no. Well, maybe for an Ashkenaz, for someone Ashkenaz in 5 days.
3 days you can samach on Nika Bayis. That's what the Rama says. He says some of these birds together is enough.
Right. But even 4 days for someone who's not Sephardi, and all the generations, his parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, they all skip 5 days. Pashas, that's an important together. I know if you would ask Ravadia. Ravadia held even Ashkenazim was supposed to be like the Shulchan Aruch in Israel. It was more the Astra. Anyone who doesn't is part together, not like the Shulchan Aruch. So, that you have to be careful about. But that's the point over here. The point is that if it's a one-time occurrence, there's a special reason. I told you the story about the Fleishing barbecue. One of my Talmidim, right? I just invited him to my wedding. He said, "Wow, it sounds like a great party." Anyway, so what? He's a rabbi, yeah. So he asked me a few years ago about making a barbecue during the 9 days. He had a group from Chutz La'aretz of non-religious teenagers, and we spoke about this with opinion. That was my idea, make opinion of Ben. Someone must need opinion of Ben. He didn't like it. He didn't want to make a CM either. Right? And so he said, look, you have to eat meat during the 9 days. You can't bring a group of non-religious people and not eat meat during the 9 days. So what happened? So I said, okay, but eat inside. You have to make a barbecue before Esya. It's what happened. He made a barbecue in Gan Saker. And in the middle of barbecue, these 3-4 Chilonim people come up to him and says, how can you make a barbecue? It's 9 days. So there you go. That's called Pirzas Geder, right? And that's what we bring here from the Cheshuchi Heaven. That's Chil Hashem. The Chomim, and that's what Shuvas Rajba. The Chomim made a Geder, not to eat meat. Avelis, even though an Avel's allowed to eat meat. There's a mitzvah to give an Avel meat and wine. But for the 9 days, right, it's Tainug, it's pleasure. So in 9 days, the Geder was made in Klal Yisrael. And that's what the Rashba says. Fa'afal pi she'ein kan isu klal midin Talmud, afilu be'erev tzom b'suda she'ein mafsik ba. You could have a lunch, technically, on Erev Tisha B'Av with meat and wine, right? Afilu kain misha'achol baster b'kol makomos shenogu iser parts Geder she'rishonim or parts Geder shechenu nachas shel t'reya. Right? You're going to get bitten by the snake of the rabbis. So the moral story is you have to be careful. You have to be careful and understand the importance of minhag. I was on the plane once. Mordechai's asking about kidneys, and there was a guy. Baruch Hashem, he was 2 seats away from me because if he was next to me, I would have smashed his face in. But he was talking. He said, "Kidneys, yeah, you don't have to keep that anymore. That was old thing, and people, the companies, they used to get mixed up." He says, "You don't have to keep kidneys anymore. It's outdated." But anyway, that is the Chorban of Klal Yisrael, right? These minhagim which people keep, that is what is keeping Klal Yisrael going. That's a koach of Klal Yisrael. Parts Getter, and Paretz Getter mean making the Gedarim is strengthening Klal Yisrael, and someone's Paretz Getter, it's a very chomer thing. So, B'ezrat Hashem, could be, there's a lot more on this. Maybe we'll continue next week, maybe we won't. We'll see what happens. But everyone should have a good Shabbos. Amen.
Just a bad meat.
Well,